We tried on a bunch of outfits, and we had this vision of like that kilt look from the 80s. And as soon as I saw that, I was like, hmm, yeah, that feels right. And I remember texting my mom a lot too and asking her kind of what she wore and what she said, like the type of slang that they used in the 80s. So
How are you guys both doing today?
Very good.
awesome. How are you?
I'm good, thanks. Well, I'm Nicole from As Seen on Screen. It's such a pleasure to be chatting with the both of you. I loved watching this film. Had a chance to watch it a few days ago. I loved it, so I have so many specifics I'd love to chat with you about. I wanted to start off by diving right into the beginning with the script writing, Rob, because one element I think you did so effectively was balancing the group's interactions and understandings of these characters through the lens of friendship, kind of versus that exploration of individuality and self-growth. So as you wrote the script and got to know these characters and their story, how did you balance how much we would see of the friends with one another versus the amount of individual moments we see with Simon, Tim, and the rest of this group?
Um, Great question. It started, I was, approaching my 40s at the time, so I was going through a bit of my midlife crisis at the point. So a lot of my internal monologue kind of seemed to be, I realized was the same questions I was asking myself as a 20-year-old or in that age group. So I knew there would be a lot of discussion about what their futures hold and who they believe they are as people. I didn't think I put too much weight in, how much of it would be individual scenes or how they would fracture off. I kind of just started from a character's basis first, and then as I was writing, saw where there would be moments opportunity to pull them in directions, or when the various groups would interact, what would be the best clashes for, either conflict or for romance or for the other thing. So it wasn't so much intentional as it was just waiting and seeing as I was writing it, and then sometimes having to go back and be like, wait a minute, I got that wrong. Let's readjust that. And then, once we got into rehearsal periods and stuff too, finding other interactions that kind of fit to pull out other moments from various characters as well. So there's a bit of all over the place that way.
That's awesome. I mean, it felt so natural, and I think that's due to such the amazing chemistry also all of the cast had in this film. So, a round of applause for everyone on that.
Thanks.
Now, Katie, my favorite thing about Misty and Simon is how they both help each other grow in different aspects of their life. Misty shares with the group that she dislikes how her parents are kind of very focused on what she's going to do with her future and get into for her career-wise. And then she kind of has that moment where she questions how Simon remains ambitious about pursuing music when there's that chance, there isn't a guaranteed chance of success. But then on the flip side, Simon's concerned about the building his resume and living kind of this movie character-worthy life. So I'm curious for your perspective throughout this whole adventure. What is it about Misty's personality that helps Simon grow? And on the flip side, what aspects of Simon's personality helps Misty learn about herself?
Yeah. Well, yeah, I guess she's the character that comes in like halfway through the movie to introduce a new conflict for Simon's character, as if he isn't it enough, but also a different perspective. Um, and she's a complicated character. She's a very complicated character, and in that she feels really the thing they have in common is that they both feel suffocated, but she feels suffocated by any type of narrative. And she's this classic cynic and contrarian, but at the core of that, I think it lives in a lot of fear. Um, and it's fear that's quite well deserved, I think too. They both grew up in that kind of classically toxic 80s culture. Um, and she's just trying to escape that like grandiose very, very charade like John Hughes storyline that she can't relate to, first of all, and also, um, you know, at times it made women into trophies, and there's a lot of rebellion and there's a lot of resistance. But the thing is, I think what they end up learning from each other is that like in all that rebellion, you often forget to live. There's a creativity that comes out of um, just living truthfully and honestly, and maybe that's how Simon helps Misty.
Yeah, I love that. I think even just through similarities and differences, both of your characters show such great contrast between optimism and realism. And I think I love that too about both of your characters because that shows the differences and similarities within everything that you just spoke about.
Yeah.
Now, Rob, there's the scene where Misty and Simon were beginning, where Simon's playing the mandolin. I noticed a slight change in the lighting. It goes from that warm light thing in the room to kind of that brighter white spotlight on both of the characters. So I was curious on what that process working with your cinematographer or lighting assistant to kind of make almost that emotional shift that feels in the scene from the lighting.
Yeah, that came out of knowing that feeling of embarrassment where you get the hot feeling on the back of your neck and being like, well, I can't do that, show that. So what's the best way to show that is just slowly turn it into a piercing spotlight on the character. So that was kind of like the motivation behind that. I was very Scorsese, I guess is a good motivator there. But that was, I think that was kind of always the plan was always to do something like that. To I can't think of. It's not that I didn't trust that it was going to be dreadfully uncomfortable. No matter what, we knew right off the hop that this was going to be painfully uncomfortable, but it was just something to, I don't know why I had to do the extra step. It felt like the right move to give me that feeling on the back of your neck. So going to our DOP cinematographer David Barron and just being like, okay, we're gonna get a little wild with this one. I want you to change this like classic ugly orange like sodium vapor lighting into this horrific hard spotlight as the song progressively gets worse and worse. It just kind of I think that was kind of we got that all in one night, so it wasn't like a particularly long process. It was just well worth
It's
it.
so effective. It's so
Yeah,
painful.
yeah,
It's such a great element. I think that was such a perfect choice. I noticed it like right when it happens. I was like, that's perfect. That perfectly encapsulates kind of what I feel like those characters are feeling in that moment. Yeah.
yeah. Well, it was just like it also led to he wants his life to be so much like the movie, and in the movie world, that would have worked out, and it was important to show that it did not work out.
When Misty is first introduced in the film, she's wearing those lovely pink heart earrings, that pink wristwatch, and also the leather jacket, the side ponytail. So I'm curious to hear from both of you how you wanted Misty and all of the characters in this film to kind of allow their personalities to shine through with their physical appearance.
Who wants to go first? Me?
Maybe you.
Okay, yeah, I intentionally try to stay out of most of the costuming conversations. I prefer to just give our costumers like a general guideline of what to do, what to avoid, but I think it's really important that the costumer and the talent find that look themselves because I think that's one of the first bases is that they find their characters from or make decisions based on that look. So I try to stay as very out of that as I can. And like, it was completely same with when I saw it for the first time on set. I'm like, oh, that's a terrific look. Like it
Yeah.
works for me. But the only thing that I was like cognizant of trying to avoid is like too much of the classic 80s, like overly neon, over like one of our quotes was like it's like anti-Stranger Things. We'd wanted to avoid crazy neons, very polished look because the late 80s was one step removed from the grunge. This is after a stock market crash. The world's meant to feel dirty, grimy. The music's all the same, no synth. We avoided any synth music except for the opening song, which just turns weird as soon as we find out he's in a police car. So it's like all of that stuff is just meant to remind you that this is a kind of a very different, grimier, more lived in late 80s. And I think the costume is like a very important element of selling that as well.
What was those conversations look like for you, Katie, with the costuming department and kind of establishing Misty's look in this movie?
Well, I came in, they had a lot of really great options. But the thing that I really wanted to kind of portray the fact that, like, she's a little bit, she's a slacker a little bit. She probably sits around and listens to a lot of music. She's got a great knowledge on music. So I feel like she would read edgy and read, uh, uh, you know, like a concert girl. So I don't know. We tried on a bunch of outfits, and we had this vision of like that kilt look from the '80s. And as soon as I saw that, I was like. Yeah, that feels right. And I remember texting my mom a lot too and asking her kind of what she wore and what she said, like the type of slang that they used in the 80s. So,
Yeah.
um, yeah, I think we just kind of tried on a bunch of things until it felt right.
I mean, it looks great. And one of my favorite things when I watch movies with my mom too from the 80s, she'll always be like, I used to wear something like that.
Yeah,
All the
yeah,
time.
yeah. It was cool. It was nice. It was like a nostalgic conversation for her too.
Aw. Well, you brought up music with your character, so I'd love to talk about since your character kind of comes in through the record store, through the lens of music. Um, what singer or song or group do you think from the 80s would be her personal favorite?
Oh wow, that's such a great question. Hmm. I don't know. Do you think New Order would be? her playing Rob? Maybe not. I think, honestly, truthfully, I think the Smiths.
Yeah.
Pick.
Yeah, that's probably a good
Yeah,
one. Yeah. Funny enough,
just
though, it was Katie's day doing a dive on the music that led to the closing song for the movie.
yeah, yeah, that's right.
Nice.
Uh,
Yeah, I was kind of obsessed with this song at the time, and I didn't, it wasn't a particularly popular song, but I loved it, and it just felt so 80s. So I sent it to Rob, and I was like, just, tonally, check this one out. I guess he liked it.
Perfect. Now, I also love the references in this film to so many classic 80s films, specifically, of course, Say Anything is such a big thing with the Dare to Be Great moment. So, whether, for these characters reaching their goals or overcoming fears, facing risks head on, they did such a great job of embracing self-growth through it. So, I'm curious for both of you, was there a moment throughout the making of this film where you achieved a personal goal or kind of took on a new risk professionally as a filmmaker and as an actress?
Yeah, I mean, for me, the act of making this film, I came from the genre community for the most part, where my previous movie was three people stuck on a boat trying to eat each other, to then trying to do this kind of straight drama that's, an ode to all of my favorite, coming of age movies back in the day. I think this is a bit of a personal story, but I wrote this while we were in the COVID bubble, and my dad was had terminal cancer at the time. So as a 69-year-old man, he was talking to me about all these regrets that he had, and I was like, Jesus, I thought by the time I was 69, I would have done most of the things that I'd wanted to do, but I guess time moves quicker than you think, and so I just had a hard conversations with him about, well, what's scaring you? And it's like, well, it'd be scare me to just do the straight drama that I've always wanted to do, my version of Dazed, Confused, or Stand By Me. So for me, yeah, the swing was just stepping outside of my comfort zone, working with like an ensemble cast, a young cast, and kind of just doing the thing. But yeah, that was mine.
Making a movie.
Yeah.
I think well what came to mind is yeah, it might have been the first time that I've really played someone who feels uh quite close to me. Like this character felt very personal just because I think all of the characters in this particular movie are very nuanced, and that's what attracted me to the movie. They all go on very personal um little journeys, um, and have rather just like nuanced feelings towards things. And she's a character who is kind of emotionally all over the place because there is so much um, masking and rebelling against her own feelings. And normally, when I'm taking on a character, it's like, here's your intention. Here's your goal, like here's your backstory. Whereas with Misty, it was much more human. The story was much more nuanced, and it felt like I could bring in that way more of my own chaos into it, I guess. It was very rare for a character.
Well, you both knocked it out of the park, I think. So, congratulations on the filmmaking process and everything for this movie for you.
Yeah, thank you.
I kind of viewed Simon as a dreamer in the way that he wanted to be this movie character, have these experiences like Ferris Bueller. I remember as a kid watching like The Princess Diaries, and I would have loved to be Mia Thermopolis, going, having this elaborate life, or even just watching Up was the first movie I watched in theaters ever, and planning that adventure of a lifetime, having these ideas for myself. For both of you, is there a movie you remember watching growing up or at any point in your life where you really thought, I want to be this character, or I'd love to spend a day in their shoes?
Yeah, totally. Maybe River Phoenix and Stand By Me.
Both good choices.
Sure.
You stole it from me. No, Stand By Me was certainly, I remember watching that I probably was about the same age as the kids in the movie were, and they were living such a different life, like not living such a different life, but they were doing a much bigger adventure than I could possibly have imagined. And I mean, not that I wanted to go on a 2-day hike to go find a body, but the way they were dealing with the world was much more out there and open than I perhaps was in my sheltered youth. So, and I also think that movie was not even directed for kids my age. That was for movies for adults.
Yeah.
Follow back on that. So that was an eye opener for me. And then I'd say my other one was I say it, I probably said it a few times, but I will say Ferris Bueller because that is the first time I saw a teenage character, even though I think Matthew Broderick was like 25 at the time, but that was the first time I saw a teenage character have it all figured out. Whereas I, as a teenager, felt like I didn't have a single thing figured out. So that one made me more be like, oh, that's something to strive for, to try and figure it out, only to find out it's all bullcrap. You never figure it out ever, but That's kind of how it works. But yeah, that those are probably two that made me be like, I wish my life was more like either of these.
Yeah, just adventures.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think it's one of my favorite things about coming of age films too, is that contrast between like what you've mentioned about Ferris Bueller is so different from different characters. I think of The Edge of 17. If you've seen that movie, that has such a different contrast feeling to it of like feeling lost and feeling like everyone else around you has such a concrete plan and pathway. So I think it's interesting to see how coming of age films can have different perspectives and relating to them in different ways.
Well, there's something strange too where they're more grounded because one of my answers in the back of my head was going to be like seeing Indiana Jones. Of course, I wanted to suddenly be an archaeologist and bought a whip and some cowboy shoes and a hat, but that never seemed like an actual goal to get to. Whereas these ones is like, oh, this might be a possibility to go on these kinds of adventures.
Absolutely. Now, this film was shown at a number of film festivals, including the Calgary Underground Film Festival, where it actually won the 2025 Audience Award for Best Narrative Feature. So congratulations on that. Now,
Thank you.
both of you were in attendance at the festival. So I'm curious, what was your favorite memory from experiencing this film with that festival audience?
I had the cold sweat on the back of your neck. That spotlight was there metaphorically for me. I kind of like, luckily, the Calgary audiences are fairly friendly to me. There's usually a fair number of cast and crew in there, so I can usually calm my nerves a little bit. That being said, to see a full house, I don't normally sit through the movies, but our producer Mike, convinced me to do it. That was a special screening in that it seemed like everyone there got the movie and got what the vibe was, and it was like the audience was honed in on the movie, and I actually haven't felt a screening experience like that before where it was that much locked in. So yeah, that was a special one. I'm glad I sat through it. I may never do it again, but
It's not
I
true.
yeah, I hear from the yeah, even like the programmers at the Calgary Film Festival that there was something going on in the air during that screening that was just felt different. So that was
Yeah, there was. There was a lot of laughter, I remember. It was funny because I actually had two genre films playing at that festival, and I saw ours, This Too Shall Pass, kind of right after the first one, and the tone was just so very different, but it it just was really cool to kind of see all of the jokes laugh and have the audience like kind of fall in love with these characters and these boys in the same way that like you did, whether you were reading the script and then while working with them, and they thought they were just as funny as I thought they were in real life, and it was just I don't know, it's just very, I felt really proud of it, especially the contrast between, I had a goofier movie there too, and it felt grounded and real, and it was something that I just felt quite proud of, and everybody in the audience seemed to be enjoying it too, so that's always a special thing.
yeah, yeah. There's something about yeah, it's like there's a different feeling. Stuff lands differently when you're watching at home by yourself or even with two or three people compared to a whole crowd who's kind of locked in. So
Yeah, and
yeah.
then sharing your emotions with you.
Yeah.
Yeah, I always say to my colleagues whenever we're at film festivals or covering or just going to watch for fun, I will never watch a movie the same way outside of a film festival as I did that night because the crowd's there, because everyone has that shared love for cinema. And I think it's such a fun
Yeah.
experience for anyone to go to a film festival. So I'm glad you guys both had that experience for
Oh
yourself.
yeah, me too.
Well, I know we're reaching the end of your time here. I don't want to take up more of your time, but thank you both so much for taking the time to speak with me today. Congratulations on the release of the film upcoming so soon, and I'm so excited to share this with our audience.
Oh,
Oh,
thank you. We're really proud of it. So.
yeah. Thank you so much.